So the question is, how exactly do we make a grainy vertical text effect in Photoshop? Well, let's get into it. So only thing we have to do is open up Photoshop, of course, pull up some layers. I have this layer here. I'm going to turn it off so Lord knows I can see the text here. And let's go ahead and make this a little bigger, like so would work. Okay, so now what we'll do, let's go ahead and right click on our text layer and convert to a smart object. There we go. Now I want to go ahead and make this a little bit taller, like so. I think that would work. Any text would do, guys, but just remember the effect works better when the bottom is kind of maybe flat as opposed to the rounded style fonts there. So let's hit M on the keyboard and pull up our marquee tool. Go over a little bit. I think like this will work. Make sure our blessed layer is checked. Right click within our selection here and layer via copy. Now we can check our work by disabling our blessed layer to see our progress there, which is good. And let's just name this bottom. Okay. Now we'll click on the bottom layer, grab that, and let's go ahead and pull this down all the way like so. That would work. Apply that, and that looks good. Let's turn on the background. There we go. Now we're cooking with hot grease. Okay, so let's select the bottom layer here and head on up to filter and convert for smart filters. Okay, now let's back up to filter and let's go down to blur and let's try motion blur. Click on motion blur there. I went all the way with it and put 2000 pixels and the angle is at 90 degrees. And let's see, hit OK. That's looking good. Okay, so now what we'll do is let's just go ahead and take our bottom layer and let's add a layer mask to it. Hit E, pull up our eraser and make sure that our layer mask is selected and just go over like so. Let me pull down some of this, make the hardness a little bit harder because the brush will fade into the bottom and that's not what we want. Make the brush a little smaller and just take out the pieces we do not need. Okay, like so, looking good. Now let's make this, which is our bottom layer, let's duplicate that by hitting Control J. And so that makes it just a little bit brighter there. And we'll take the bottom copy and the original bottom and take these and let's merge this. Control E. And that is done. Now let's go back up here, filter, convert for smart filters. So now what we'll do now is let's make another layer mask just in case we need it for anything in the future. And let's do the same thing on our blessed layer. So we have the option to fade it or add a gradient if we want to in the future. Now let's take both of these, the bless and the bless copy, right click and convert to a smart object. Okay. Now what we can do is let's double click on our copy here and let's choose a gradient overlay. Ooh, it looks good. So on this particular one, guys, the angle is set at 90 degrees. The scale is 114. The blending mode is normal. Opacity is at 100%. And I chose from the blue presets. So it's blue _32. Hit OK. Now let's go ahead and go up here to our blending mode and let's choose dissolve. Okay. All right, that looks good. Now what we'll do is we'll make sure that nothing is selected and hit Control, Shift, Alt, and E. And that creates a snapshot of our drawing here. And now let's go up to Filter, Camera Raw. Click on Camera Raw. Now what we're looking to do is we're looking for texture and we're looking for grain. So that is in the effects column here. And what we'll do is we'll just torch it. Go to texture all the way up and grain all the way up. There we go. Now if we zoom in, we can see the work here. Now let's disable this for a second. This the before, this the after. Before, after. Looking good. Now let's hit OK. And we're done. We're done. Now, if we wanted to, we can add a little bit of flavor to it. So what we'll do, add another layer, hit G on our keyboard and pull up our paint bucket tool. And if for instance, you was working on a gradient at some point and you hit G, and then you'll see right here, this is where your paint bucket tool is listed. Now, what you can do from that point on, you can hit Shift and G to toggle between your modes here. See? So that's what we'll do. And the foreground color is black. And let's just paint black with this here. Pull this down a little bit so it's underneath. Now what we can do for our top layer, let's just go ahead and add another layer mask here. Then we can take our eraser tool or brush tool, whichever one you choose to use. Make sure our foreground color is white. Make the brush a little bit bigger. And we can go like so. Now, obviously, we want to put some fade on there. So we're not going to do it like that. So what we can do also is hit G, Shift and G. Let's pull up our gradient. Click on our gradient here. And underneath basics, let's choose black to white. Okay. All right, so make sure we clicked on our layer mask and let's just go ahead and hit Shift and pull up like so. So we can introduce a little fade or little gradient to it. There we go. That's it. So I think that's a good place to stop for this video. Now, if you guys found anything useful, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.